What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Weapon Collective. My name's Jeff, and we are back down in the Gat Cave today, but we're gonna be doing something a little bit different. Not too long ago, I released a video on the Staccato HD Disassembly, and it was basically a field strip for the most part, but this is a gun that works a little different than all of Staccato's other guns. I did get a viewer request asking if I could basically break the whole gun down. And as far as I can tell, there's no videos on YouTube of this being done. There is basically no instructions online that I could see. So it's similar to all their other models in some ways, but it does have a few little quirks, that's for sure. So we're gonna strip this gun all the way down, take it apart, and put it back together, and hopefully still runs. No, it will. This is the Staccato HD P4 full disassembly. Okay, first thing first, gotta make sure it is clear. It is. And before we get into this Staccato HD P4 full disassembly, I will say I don't know if this is at all in line with what Staccato would recommend you do. This is just the way that I've found out how to do it, because there are some different things, like with the main spring housing, that's a lot different. It was a real pain in the butt getting these thumb safeties off first time, and I've only done it the once, so we'll but you can see the gun is functional. I put it back together and it runs, so let's take it apart. Take this light off, we don't need that. I'm not going to take the whole upper apart. There is like a couple little things you could get the external extractor out. It's just under this plate, but I mean, we can, if you guys really want to see that, let me know, and we can do that. But you push on that side. So obviously this whole thing comes out just like that. We've seen that. That's the first video I did, right? And next, we're going to take this thing entirely apart. So that'll just rotate up and come out, and then we'll put this stuff off to the side for now until reassembly, and let's just get into it. One of the weirder things with this one is this main spring housing. On a Staccato, like a P or any of their other models, this main spring housing would just come right out, but they have a grip safety. This one doesn't, and they have these little hooks that are retaining this entire main spring housing. So it's not easy to get out, I would say. It's really hooked on there, and I put a little screwdriver in here just to get a start on it. So I just give it a little whack there, and you can see these little hooks that are in here. These two little hooks, and this just slides right up and sits on there. So it is harder to separate, but I don't know what Staccato, how they tell you to do it, like pushing it back, but that's how I do it. And then getting these thumb safeties off was a pain, I'll tell you that. But I got the right one off first. Okay, that one, I get the right one off first, oddly enough. Just pop that one back in. So this detent is really strong so I had to depress this detent, and you can see this is different from a normal 2011 too. Normally it would go all the way through, have a detent, spring, and then another detent that comes out here, but this one just has the one, so that has a lot of pressure on that. Okay, and then one of the best things they did in this is this front screw used to be a hex and now it's a Torx, which I much prefer. And I found that if you have aim point wrenches like this, these are T9, and they are perfect because you got to get one in each side and unscrew the other. So you have one little teeny screw, and then you'll pop this guy out the other side ever so gently. And this will come out. It is a little cross bolt. Keep those together. And then for the safety, these are actually, it's interesting because it is ambi, it's reversible. So you can actually see down in here where the little lever comes up. And then that'll come right out. And what it's doing is that bolt comes down and this will rotate, and it'll do it on each side, so you can put it in on the ambi on the right side mag release if you so choose. That beaver tail will come out, and here's what I was talking about. You can see those hooks on the beaver tail, maybe. These are what are grabbing this. You can see that the way that those two connect, and that's holding it, so you got to break that. And like maybe the way I did it is totally opposite from what Staccato recommended, but it's my gun, it worked. I'm not worried about it. T20 Torx for these. And you can pop these guys out, these bushings. Sorry, I don't know how the filming, I can't see the camera all the time, so doing the best I can here to keep everything in frame. That bushing come out, and then get your sear spring. And at this point, the whole grip will just slide right off. Trigger comes out. And there you have it. I'm not going to take apart the whole hammer, sear, disco. But that is basically taking this gun apart. Now you have it in all these pieces. It's mostly all similar to Staccato P, Staccato XC, all their other models, but even the parts that are like this main spring housing, I'm saying even the parts that are the same, on some of them they change them. So like this is a much longer main spring housing. So the pin, you would pop it out on the side here instead of on a normal 2011. Pop it out from right here, and then you can get that main spring out. And I'm not going to do all that. I'm just doing this to show you taking this thing all the way down to basic components here, and let's put it back together. Okay, so you want to put the trigger in. You want it angled down. just slides right in there. Put that frame back up on the grip, and let's put these back together. So putting these bushings back in, I just rest it on my finger, slide it up in that hole, get that guy on there. Then you do have to make sure it's lined up, because the flat part, this top part right here, which is flat, does have to sit inside the top rail of this frame. So sometimes I'll just get a screwdriver and line it up. And then I just try to apply force to the back of it while I'm tightening it, and you'll feel it. But you can break these little ears off on the side if it's not lined up correctly and you torque it down, which you do not want to do. So just be cautious of that. And if I was putting this thing back together not to take it apart again, I'd be putting some thread locker on all this stuff. But I'm sending this to Monsoon Tactical, where they're going to take it all apart very soon, so I'm not thread locking everything. But if you're just doing it at home, use thread locker. And even if you do use thread locker, just check these screws every once in a while. You're going to want to make sure they're not coming loose. Okay, got those cinched down. Put this guy in. And he's always a little tighter. I mean, you could put a little lube on there. I just grab one of these punches and just lightly tap it back down. There we go. And I tell you, having these little aim point wrenches is fantastic. Get him to where he starts. You can't torque it down any further, because it'll just start spinning. And just like that. Okay. The next thing you're going to want to do is get your sear spring in. So I just flip that all the way open. We're going to drop the sear spring in, and you can see this little notch down here corresponds with this little bend. I will say this is a little more difficult to get in than a Staccato P. It's just not as wide of a grip. Okay, and then I put this in just to give it some tension so it doesn't go anywhere. And then I will put this beaver tail back in place. And it does have these notches up in the frame. Okay. I will throw my left thumb safety in at this point. And then I'll put this pin back in, if I can find it. This is much easier on this than a normal 2011. Okay. And then you do have to cock this. You'll hear 2 clicks, and then, well, we can throw this back in too. That just slides right through. Oh, I turned that. Sorry. When I was showing you that, I left that little piece in the wrong spot. That's got to be in like that. And then it'll slide in. And this one, I won't be able to get it on camera, but you'll be able to see where it sits. And get it right in there. Make sure that is working. Okay. And then we gotta put this spring and detent in before we put this back on. And then I like to hold this up at a little angle. And these are, the right grip safety and the left are connected together by these little part right here. There's an opening on this one. And they just click together. But in order to get them to work together, you have to pinch them, but simultaneously depressing this detent. Just like that. And then we can reassemble our slide and barrel. And this guy just obviously slides right back in there, this recoil spring. Make sure that little notch. I like to hold this spring down. Oh, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Forgot to put that on. Got to put him on. That's something I'll never get used to. Glad I saw that though. If I could line that up. Okay. And then I just like to get a little guy like this. Line that up. And lock back. There we go. So that is fully taken apart, put back together relatively without too much trouble. Okay, so that's it. That is taking apart the Staccato HD P4, kind of stripping it down. And I do want to emphasize, I'm not saying that this is the way to do it. This is the way that I did it. I've done it twice now, and everything works, which is always good. But if Staccato was doing it, maybe they'd have a different method. They probably do, especially with that main spring housing. That's kind of a pain to get off. And also the thumb safeties are a pain to get off. But it works, and maybe I'll learn some new tricks along the way the more I do this. But anyhow, I just posted this because I don't see any disassembly of this gun online. I don't even see instructions anywhere. So thought I'd get that out there and maybe be of help to anybody that's trying to sort through this gun and figure out what parts are doing internally. Anyhow, please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I'm Jeff for the Weapon Collective, reminding you, keep your weapons collected and keep collecting your weapons. I'll catch you next time.